And prayers.
We're live.
You are in my thoughts. As a man thinketh,
So is he. All right, you want to go ahead and tag your community?
I sure will, my brother. So I just got to go and find Oliver Blue. And here we go. Let me see where I'm at. I'm here, yes. And it
And
makes
while,
it.
and while you're doing that, I just want to welcome our live audience or those who may be watching the replay of this month's session of the Coach's Corner with your host Oliver Blue and Wayne A. Moody. And Wayne, as you graft your community in, we welcome everyone on this beautiful fall. Are we in the fall?
Yep.
Yesterday was the last day of spring, so I guess we have fallen over into
Spring or
fall.
summer.
So we like to welcome everyone to on this beautiful
Oh.
fall morning to the Coach's Corner, where it is our intention to add value and build goodwill in the communities in which we serve. And serve we do.
Yes, my
You
brother.
know, I heard one of my mentors say this morning that we don't get paid for work. We get paid for service. The service we provide.
Mm,
It is the service, and you don't get paid for service, but your service.
mm.
Okay. Yeah, not quite the first day of fall. We had to wait a few more days. The 23rd of September is the first day officially, but
Hmm.
we can declare it. We can decree and declare a thing, and so shall it be, right? So we declare today the first day of
Like
fall.
somebody says, when is the new year? New
When-
Year is when you decide, okay, it's the new year.
right.
I don't have to wait for the 1st of January to start a new year. A new year starts today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, we're not. I'm not subject to. I'm not subject to what has been established. I am able to establish what it is for me, right?
And the spiritual beings that we are have no beginning, no ending. We're just in this thing called time and space, where in this vehicle that I'm traveling, this body does has a start date, does has an expiration date, but the spirit that I am is eternal. No beginning, no ending. And it began in the mind of the infinite.
Ooh, in the what?
The mind, because I am here because God thought about me. And like our friend John Ebron said, when God wanted to boast, he said, let me make Oliver. Let me create Wayne. Because you and I, every one of us, are a unique expression of the infinite. And isn't it amazing that God thought about us? He said, even before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So I came through my mom, but not from my mom. I get my humanity from my mother and my father. That's where I get my humanity from. But who I am in this life as a spiritual being, I am, and I look like my dad, my earthly father. I am the image of my father. If you see my father, if my father went on the Maury show, they would tell him, you are the father, because I have my father's and mother's genes. But when it comes to who I am spiritually, I've got divine DNA. I am a son of the Most High God. And that's why I need to live from that place of divine.
Yes.
Live from that place of love overflowing. Live from that place of creativity. And the more I become aware of it, I'm more excited, because this is the life that I was ordained and called to live. This is my destiny. This is my purpose. This is my reason for living. Fulfilling the thoughts of God concerning my life. And what does God think about me? All of it says God has prospered, give me a great end. I mean, The end is already established because somebody said, God has been in my past, He's in this moment, and God is in the future waiting for me to get there. And when I get there, God is going to say, I was waiting for you.
Tell us more.
Oh my, I am excited. I'm excited because life does happen, you know? And sometimes what we perceive is just that, what we perceive. Because there is that which is, I mean, what is real in the sense of if I check my bank account right now, that is real. I'm not going to be disillusioned. But what is the truth is I'm connected to an infinite source where there is no lack. It's all abundance. Situation and circumstances will change because as I become more aware, then it's just like, just dissipates. Because the reality is, as I take a deep breath, that's one of the most precious miracles. Every breath I take is a miracle. Because if I can't take one of them, they're going to put me on a ventilator, and that ventilator is going to be expensive. But you know what? Every breath I take, every breath that I'm taking today is a miracle because it's God kissing me and God breathing through me and God living through me because in God I live and move and have my being. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I'm nothing apart from the infinite mind, apart from the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent one. My life begins and ends with God.
So, what you're saying is that everything in this world of form, everything in this perceptual world is temporary.
A
And
lot of
so none of it is our reality. It's just our experiences, right? So in truth, our reality is God, or our reality is the reality of God. So whatever God reality is, it has to be ours because we're there's no us, there's no existence outside of God, is what you're saying. So you're
none whatsoever.
oh my God. No wonder people say, "Oh my God." When people say, "Oh my God," they don't really know what they're saying. Oh my God, because what you're saying is God is, therefore I am, and there is nothing else.
He said Alpha and Omega, beginning and ending. And you know, we start with the fundamental thinking that everything is first a thought before it becomes a thing. And I am, you are as God created you. And God don't make no junk.
The question is, do I remain as God created me? Can that be changed or altered?
When God created man, he created man with this thing called free moral agent. Man can choose. The thoughts that I choose to meditate on, the thoughts that I choose to put energy in will manifest. Honestly, if I have thoughts that are toxic thoughts, and I put energy into those toxic thoughts, the principle is going to work. Toxicity is going to be the outcome of what the thoughts actually bring forth. Now, if I have thoughts of expansiveness, gratitude, and I put the energy in those thoughts, the results is going to be because it's a universal law. Whatever you sow, you reap. As a man thinketh, so is he. And that's amazing that we are created beings, we're thinking beings like God, and the very universe that we're actually experiencing was in the mind of God before it was. And what are God's thoughts? God's thoughts are to prosper us, to make us well. God's thought is our God. The bottom line is God's thoughts towards us are love. And God loves me. And you know, the Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his son. But he did not just give his son, he gave sons. I'm a son, you're a son. So God has so loved the world that he gave us to the world, that the world through us might experience what salvation is. And that's why Again, the prophet Isaiah said, "How lovely are the feet of them who brings good news." And that's the good news that we bring. The good news we bring is God is not mad with you.
And neither am I.
Neither am I. And the more we realize, and this is why love transforms. And this is why he says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you might know that good and pleasing and perfect will of God." And it goes on and he says again, "Though we live in this flesh, the war is not after this flesh. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds." And it tells you what the strongholds are: casting down every thought and every imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And it is the mind. He said it is the mind we serve God. And like Joshua said, he made up the decision. As for me and my house, we will serve. So I got to make a decision. Am I going to be thinking God's thoughts, or am I going to come up with my own thoughts? And if I come up with my own thoughts, it's going to be futile. This is why I got to say, what am I thinking? When a situation and circumstance are going all over the place, I got to just take a deep breath. That's what it is. Situation and circumstances, they are temporal, they're not real, they're just what my mind is actually seeing and perceiving. And this is why I got to renew my mind, because think about it. As a baby, I came in here and nothing was, as a child, my imagination, which is one of the mental faculties that God has given us, my imagination was out of the world. I think I could have done everything. And then they sent us to this place called school.
Oh.
And then we go to school and they put us in a box and they tell you, go to school, get a degree, get a job, get a house, get a car, die, and put you in a box. But you know what? I was not comfortable in that box, and I had to shake that box off and said no. And then the fear popped up. And I'm like, okay, this is just telling me I'm entering into a space that I've never been. I remember when I did my first Zoom meeting, it was Johnny Brown who navigated me because I was scared. I had technophobia. And John navigated me, and now Zoom is just a piece of cake. It's not anything impossible. But again, the mind, which is the faculty that God has given us, which is literally connected to every single fiber of my being. The mind, you think a thought and you blush. You think a thought and you might even pee yourself. That's how powerful the mind is, so in control of the whole creative system that we have. So if I think a thought that is God's thoughts, then I'm thinking like God, then I will feel like God, I will act like God, and I will create like God. So what am I thinking about? Today I'm thinking about just this moment, taking this next breath. And it is God breathing through me. There's a song we sing, "This is the air I breathe, your holy presence living. And I'm lost without you. I'm desperate for you." And like the fish in the water, if you take the fish out of the water, it dies. If you take the plant out of the earth, it dies. And those were out of. The fishes came out of the water, the plants came out of the earth. And where did I come from? Out of God. I'm going to stay right there.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you notice I have not stopped him. He is like the ever ready battery. And he could not wait for this episode of Coach's Corner.
Oh my God. And I
Look,
must
keep
confess,
going. I'm not going to stop you.
I must confess, I didn't even know what we were going to talk about this morning in my own capacity. Because you said you sent me an email and you said this was what we're going to be talking about this morning. And it was just like a few minutes ago, you said, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Oh, by the way, audience, our topic for today's session of the Coach's Corner is mindfulness, or Yolanda and I have dedicated this entire month to helping our communities expand their awareness and understanding of mindfulness, or what the mind is, how it functions, and how we can use it in the service of supporting our aspiration, vision, dreams, and goals. And so, this is what we're going to talk about today at the Coach's Corner, as you can see. And Wayne has already shared so many nuggets about the power of the mind and how the mind functions um, to bring about a life that we would love living. So, Wayne, when you're working with your clients, um, the the subject of mind, I know, is a part of your coaching program. I mean, it's a huge part of it, and there's actually one section on there that's called subject. That's called actually training the mind.
Yes, yeah. And I must say here, disclaimer here, Mary Morrissey, one of our mentors from Brave Thinking Institute, created this system called dream building, right?
Yes.
And I think it's week 10,
Week 10.
week 10, where we talk about training the mind. And one of the things that is clearly in the as we approach this is that the brain and the mind are not the same thing. The brain,
Hello,
brain,
hello. Oh,
brain
stop
is
right there. Say that again.
the brain and the mind are not the same thing. The brain is the physical organ that you can actually do a surgery on. The actual brain is could be used to give you insight on what the mind is. Because once the mind is activated, and there's a book called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. And in the book, what Dr. Caroline does, she does research and she shares the scientific aspect of the mind. And it relates also to the actual spiritual aspect of the mind, because the mind, when you think, chemicals are released, synapses and there's a whole scientific process. Now, what the brain does, the brain reads. The brain is like the reading of what actually the mind, because when you think, the actual brain itself, and they call it neuroplasticity, where grooves are formed in the brain. And like they say, you have a certain way of thinking. That means there are certain ways that the brain is actually even formed when you're thinking. And your thinking affects actually the formation of the cells in the brain. They're actually little you can actually see it.
Neurons.
Neurons, right? Where the brain is affected by the thoughts that you think. Now,
Through it now. So since the mind is not a physical organ, but it communicates with the physical organ, which is the brain. So that communication is through impulses, is what you're saying.
right.
Or frequencies.
Frequencies, because when we think a thought, and honestly, my thinking here with you right now can impact somebody on the other side of the planet. It's so powerful. You and I can think about somebody right now, and this is why we say we pray, because let's think of someone that we both dearly know and love. We think of John Ebron, and we want to send John peace. We want to send John joy. We want to send John happiness. We want to send John everything that he needs for today, because we're connected to the source, and through the source, we send all that John needs this moment right now. And so it is.
So are you saying all minds are joined?
Well, there is only one mind, the mind of God. and
Wait a minute, Wayne. You're going real deep on my audience here.
and let me say this, right? There's a scripture that says, let him that hath an ear to hear, let him hear. Because honestly, some of what is being said would probably just go straight over some people's head.
But this is the information that when we don't have it, there's confusion. There is experimentation.
Yes.
Right? Because we don't understand the purpose of a thing. We experiment. And in most cases, when we experiment, we end up abusing what we don't know, and it just like it seems to work not for us but against us. So when the things that you were sharing right now on the mind and the way it functions, because that's one of our goals this month. How does it function? How does a thing function? Because when we understand that the mind functions in a certain way, and when we align ourselves with that functionality, then it becomes beneficial, right? It becomes uh, it works on our behalf.
So let's come to the crux of the matter, where it starts with the breath that we take, right? Everyone that is alive today on the face of this earth and is breathing is being breathed by one source. You're atheist, you're Buddhist, you're Christian, there is no life other than the life of God. And as everyone take a breath right now, there's a source that is breathing you and breathing me. Irrespective of you being aware or not aware, there is one source of life. That is where we start. God, infinite, omnipotent, omniscient, that is the point of power that is within you and it is within me. Now, we were created, again, the body from the earth, because the body is, I mean, if you burn it, you cremate it, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That is the body. But I am not a body. I mean, that is a part of the journey that I'm on. And when someone transitions from this life, we go and we say, oh, the body line state. But as far as the being that was there is still very conscious, very conscious. Now, some people say, well, it's just a cessation of life. You don't even remember anything. But again, because of who we are, we're spiritual beings. We're sent with purpose. The Lord said to Jeremiah, I know you even before I formed you in your mother's womb. My beginning didn't begin January 3rd, 1962. My beginning was before. But what we're talking about today is the mind now. And how do we train the mind? And in the program that we do with Mira Morsi, there are three things as far as disciplining the mind. The first one is decisiveness, being decisive. The second one is the power of the question. And the third is the power of alignment. And all this that we're saying here comes in Dream Builder. And as Dream Builder coaches, this is what we teach, the power of decision. And it was Napoleon Hill who went commissioned by Andrew Carnegie to study 500 of the most successful people. And what Napoleon Hill did, he did the scientific research, interviewing all these people. And he found that one of the things about successful people is that they are decisive.
Yes.
Decisive means you have the capacity to make a decision with the best possible outcome, right? And think about it. You're on the phone at the telephone company or at the credit card company, and they're not, the person on the line isn't getting what needs to be done. You say, hey, let me talk to somebody that can make the decision. Let me talk to the supervisor because you can't make the decision. Let me talk to someone who can make the decision. And again, decisive comes from the word, the Latin root of the word decidere, which means to cut away from. So when I decide, like Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. He decided that it is going to be the Lord. He decided for the Lord. It is with the mind that we actually will serve God. We decide, and when we decide, we got to cut away from anything that is not unlike that which is. And then the power of the question, because when we ask the question, realizing now that he says, ask and what? It shall be given. Seek and you shall what? Find. Knock and it shall be open. So if there is no question that we can ask, that the infinite mind does not have the answer. And the power of the question, and again, it is said that the quality of our lives is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. You might be asking, like we'd say, a kindergarten question. Like one of the examples that Mary used, it says, you can be asking the question, how can I ever pay my bills this month? And that is a legit question, and you can get the answer for that question from the infinite. But you can also ask the question, how can I make as much this month as I've made the whole year? And there's the answer to that question. But the next thing to discipline the mind is the power of alignment. And the power of alignment is staying in alignment with what the vision and the purpose is. Because when a car is out of alignment, what happens?
He veers right or left.
Right or left. But you got to stay in alignment. And you can take the car to the mechanic because the tires are worn out. And when you go to the mechanic might say, hey, you can change these tires all you want to change it, but if you're not having the car in alignment, you'll be just changing the tires. So we want to make sure that we stay in alignment, because situation and circumstances come, and sometimes it's prone to pull us back into that state of where you were. but you got to stay in alignment. I remember set the intention to go in a particular direction and things hasn't seemed to work the way I thought it was going to work, but I had to stay in alignment. And there are 5 points thinking process to staying in alignment. The first is realizing that God is. He's not the situation and circumstance. The situation and circumstance will be, but God is. And I am who I am. The third thing is discernment, knowing the difference between what is being perceived and what really is. The truth is, I am connected to the infinite source, the infinite mind. I'm one with the infinite source, the infinite mind. And that's just what I got to discern, know who I am. And then, hey, I just release. That's the fourth thing. I release and I release and I release, realizing that I might not have fully the answer what it is, but I know the answer is. And then the fifth thing is gratitude. And that's why I'm going to stay in alignment. And I've been teaching this thing, and I say I have to give a lot of props to our mentor, Mary Morrissey, who has been teaching this thing for over 40 years. And I remember her saying to us when we graduated from Dream Builder, Mary said, like Carnegie said to Napoleon Hill, Mary Morrissey, I will pass you at the post and I'll meet you at the grandstand. And her dream, Mary's dream for us, is that we go where she's been and beyond.
And beyond.
So I want to fulfill my mentor's dream, me going beyond where she's been. And this is why I say I'm focused. My dream is becoming that which I've imagined, which is the minister of transformation of the nation of beliefs. And it's happening.
Well, I can say this, that everything that you have shared with us pertaining to training the mind, we all need it, and it's spot on. And when you look at the word training, within that word training is the word that is where the real work takes place, and it's called discipline. Within training, there is discipline. Training is discipline. That's what it is. Because that is the vehicle which gets us there. The mind is used to conceive the idea. We use our imagination. We use our intuition. We use our desires to imagine a life that we would love, to imagine a project we would like to complete, to imagine a relationship we would love to have, to imagine amount of money, an amount of financial freedom, and imagine a life with time freedom, to imagine a life where our health is superb, to imagine the impact that we can have on communities, on families, on individuals, to imagine a world where there's peace among all people. That happens in the mind through one of the mental faculties we call imagination. We can imagine anything we want with the mind. Without the mind, you can't imagine. Do you think a butterfly imagines? Do you think a plant imagines? Do you think a drop of water imagines? No. Doesn't have the mental capacity. Only humanity has a mental capacity to imagine with beyond measure. And then from that imagination, we take the power of our feelings and our emotion and get what? Emotion involved with that idea.
And you know, emotion is energy
in motion.
Emotion, and everything is energy.
Yes.
Energy, and again, think about it, or actual or being. Energy flows from us. You step in a room and you can feel the shift of energy. Someone shows up and you can just realize, oh, I just feel the energy of that person, and the energy can be expansive and it can be contracted.
It could be contracted. That's right. Depending on the level of thought, the frequency of the thought.
Right. Because we think of a thought, or let's say, like for example, I just got back from 3 weeks, a little bit of travel. That trip was conceived in my mind, but then I put the energy into it. And as I put the energy into it, and like Henry David Thoreau says, if one advance confidently in the direction of the dream, and it means that you're going to be purposeful, putting energy into it, because whatever you put energy in, it's going to happen.
Right.
I
And it's
mean,
right.
where your attention goes, energy flows.
Yes.
And that's how the universe knows exactly what it is. Because if you're putting energy into it, it's going to be manifested, whether
Yes.
it's going to be expansive or it's going to be contractive. If you get up this morning and the thought that you're thinking is that, oh my God, this is going to be a crazy day. But then you put energy into the crazy day.
It's gonna be a crazy day.
But if you get up this morning and you say, this is the day the Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Yes.
That kind of energy in it. And then you know what? It doesn't mean that situation and circumstance will not come. Because honestly, situation and circumstance come. But while I realize that I have no power over what an individual thinks, say, or do, I do have power over my response. And that's why I need to be responsible. Normally, when I react, it's because of a programming system that I've had already. My way of thinking has already been programmed. So when I hear someone say, okay, this is what's going to cost, I react, oh my God, I can't afford it. That's a reaction. But if I pause for a second and I think, okay, God, how are we going to do this? Because I know, God,
yes.
things are possible. It's no if, but, or maybe. But again, what am I thinking? Because if I think I can, I will. If I think I can't, then I won't.
Right. And both thoughts acted upon will bring the corresponding results.
Energy, my
Yes.
emotions,
Yes.
emotions,
Yeah.
energy, emotion.
So on one hand you have an idea, and with that idea comes along thoughts, right? To support the idea, not to negate it, but to support it. You get other thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And as you string these thoughts together, the thoughts become an idea, right? We get an image of what that looks like, what that
Yes.
feels like, right? And so we're already having the experience of the idea even before it comes into form.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in this energetic field of energy and motion, ideas and thought. The mind is a creative machine. The mind activates, it gives energy to our thoughts. And so now you've built something before you even seen it within the realm of our mind. And there's one of my former mentors that's no longer with us, but he would say this all the time, and this was Bob Proctor. He say, if you can see it in your mind, he said, you can hold it in your hand.
Hey, it says faith without works is dead. So I got to see it before I see it.
Yes.
This is why my dream has to be seen before. And
Yes.
some people say seeing is believing. No, believing, you see it.
Yes. Yes. And so now we got the idea. Now we got an image of that idea. Now we're sending energy to it, emotion, right? And we've learned through the study of the mind that once it gets in the subconscious part of the mind, that the subconscious part of the mind is connected to every cell in our body. And once it gets there, it is now like we have approved it, and now it looks for every material necessary to bring that into form. And so our subconscious mind actually activates or influence the actions that we take. So it spurs us to take inspired action in the direction, like you say, of that goal or that dream or that inspiration. And now it's like we got the entire universe at work on our behalf, on your behalf, or on behalf of your idea, or on the behalf of your dream, because there's an alignment, like you said, right? One of the disciplines of training the mind is alignment, because we've already decided for this thing, right? We've already asked the high vibrational question of what, not how or when, but what. right? And so now we got all of the universe in concert working on our behalf. And people wonder why some people seem like everything that they touch turns to gold. And then there are some people that, struggle with achieving anything that they desire. So what's the difference? What is the real difference? And the real difference starts in the way we think. It starts in the thoughts that we think. And those thoughts trigger feelings and emotions, right? Either expansive or contractive. And that energy now gets out in the universe, meaning everything that it is that requires to bring that to form now begin to work on your behalf. Just like when we stick a seed in the ground, add a little water to it, a little sunlight, everything that seed need to come into fruition, it attracts it into that space, that present moment. And next thing you know, we wake up and poof, there's a totally different form than that little seed. It got a stem, it got a leaf, it's got fruit, it's got, so that's the creative process, and it starts in the mind, because the mind is creative.
Something there that I want to just do a little sidebar on, because when you plant the seed, right, using the analogy of saying, okay, that is a form of death, right? But because it actually has to go through the process, we know that resurrection is there. And whatever is in the seed, even when it's being planted, it's going to be resurrected. And that resurrection power is the power that actually, through us, brings forth this life-giving purpose and mission. And then it goes back to the mind again. What is in the mind of the Creator? Because you and I, every one of us was sent on purpose. Every one of us were sent on purpose with a mission to accomplish. And I think it was Miles Monroe who said one of the most wealthiest places is a cemetery, because there lies dreams and things that should have been created and people did not. And therefore, I want to make sure, like, I think it's Miles Monroe, I think it's Les Brown says, live full and die empty. I want to make sure that everything that I was commissioned to do and be and have will be manifested. And again, going back to the thought, if I'm able to think it, God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above I can ask or think. And the only place where we limit ourselves is in our thinking.
Well, I would say in our thinking and in our discipline.
Right, because at times
because there is between thinking and doing, there's a gap.
But like what it says, when you think, you activate it. But you got to get prepared to receive it, because if you're not prepared to receive it, it's going to come and go. And this is where Wallace says many metaphysical thinkers get caught up right there in the thinking, because people feel like if they think it, and there was a great move where people were saying, name it and claim it. You can name it and claim it until you're blue in the face, but if you don't get prepared for it, because faith without works is dead. I can say I want a healthy body, and I'm thinking of having a healthy body.
Right.
But what am I eating? Am I resting? Am I exercising? Wishful thinking is like if you have a genie in a bottle and you rub it, and you expect it to just puff. And some people believe that. They say, I'm going to pray, and God is just going to like make it happen. No. I become the hands and the mouth, and because it is in and through me that it's going to be manifested.
Absolutely.
I mean, I am the hand, the mouth, the eyes, the body through which God is actually going to be manifesting this thing. So me thinking about it, yes, thinking is important, but the discipline, and this is why being a disciple,
a disciplined one,
that's what we were called to do. Truly. Jesus Christ didn't say go make Christians. That's another topic all by itself, talk about Christian, because Christian is a label. Disciple is a lifestyle. Discipline, you're disciplined, you're disciplined. And it's a process. Discipline is a process. And I love Kobe Bryant's example of a person who knew exactly where they wanted to go, and he was disciplined enough to get there at the gym before they were supposed to train. And when they finished training, he still stayed there. I mean, athletes like Michael Jordan and LeBron James, who we can identify with, they have been disciplined. Because if you're not disciplined, and this is what coaches do, they help the athletes to be disciplined.
Absolutely.
Coaches see in the athlete what
Absolutely.
is, and sometimes the coaches have them whipping their butt, and they might feel like, oh my God, coach, you don't like me. No, coach likes you. That's why they're going to cause you to run that extra mile. That's why they're telling you add some more weights to push yourself beyond where you are. And then when the game comes and the coach calls you, you can deliver because
Yes.
you're disciplined to deliver in that crunch time. So discipline is definitely very paramount to connecting with what you think, because I can think about what I would love to do, which is great. Mental factor, I can, and that's one of the mental faculties that I love. I love my imagination because I can just imagine myself. I imagine myself the first time I set my foot back in Belize. I'm already imagining
Yes.
it is gonna be super duper whooper. But you know what? Right now where I'm at, I got to prepare for that moment.
Yes. And eventually you got to get on that plane or that boat and get to
I
Belize.
got to set the dates. I got to book the flights. I got to pack my bag.
Because you're not going to fall asleep and wake up in Belize.
No,
You got to pack your bags.
and that's one of the things. Sometimes people disconnect the work
But
that is
yeah,
required.
I know for my own self, Wayne, and when I look back on my life, every endeavor that I achieved it because I became disciplined in that area, right? I became disciplined about being a good athlete. I became disciplined about uh, doing the work and getting a college degree. I became disciplined about getting a job. And then when I got a job, I was disciplined on the job. And because I was disciplined on the job, I got promoted on the job. Because I got promoted on the job, I got rewarded on the job. And then I got disciplined about wanting a family. Right? I wanted a family, I wanted children, I wanted a wife, but then I got one, and I had to be disciplined, right? To bring to raise and to mentor that family, right? And then I look back on my life, and uh I was able to achieve certain things, with my corporate career, and that ended in 39 years, and I retired, right? And then, but even before then, I had an idea about, starting a business for personal development and becoming a coach. But I had to be disciplined, right, to do what I could do with what I had, to put myself in a position, right, to become a coach, and then to start a business, right? Discipline. Okay, I started a business, but there's things that had to be done. I had to be disciplined to do those things. And now, several years into the business, I have big dreams. I have big ideas of how to serve people and to impact more people, to help people, right, to get unstuck so they can create more happiness and fulfillment in their life. But what I run into is that what people have an idea, but have not focused on the discipline
And that's
to
where
get there.
that's where the mind comes in, because we are
Yes,
disciplined with the mind.
yes, and that's right.
We're disciplined with the mind because I have been disciplining myself to go sleep at a certain time so I can wake up at a certain time so I can be the best version of who I am. Because if I'm not disciplined, for example, if you're not disciplined and you go out and you eat and you drink, and then you got to go to work tomorrow morning, you're going to go to work tomorrow morning just feeling so miserable, just hangover. And that's not discipline. I got to make sure that I'm disciplined to where when I have a client at this hour, a client at this hour, and a client at this hour, that I'm prepared for each and every session. And if I say where I want to go is California, I got to be disciplined.
Right.
I got to make the decisions to do what it takes to get there, because I won't just walk up to the counter and say, I'm going to California. You book a ticket, you pack your bags. I mean, it takes discipline to just be. And talk about our physicality or physical health. It takes discipline for me to tell my body, you're not going to eat now. You're not going to eat this. You're going to go rest. You're going to exercise. That's discipline. But who's responsible? I have to take responsibility. Like Les Brown says, every single person should have a health plan, a personal health plan,
Yep.
a personal health plan, because what I eat, I become. And not just what I eat physically, what am I consuming as far as what am I listening to?
Right.
What am I watching? Because I'm feeding not just my body, but my whole being is being fed by what am I
Right.
listening to? The people that I bring in my space, because it's the energy that comes in my space. If I have people in my space and they're all complaining, they're all murmuring, they're all not believing that it's possible, that energy is contagious. It's like coronavirus. It's going to get on you and it's going to put you on a life support. So when
Yeah.
you see it, and I love caller ID, because when the phone rings and I see who's calling, I say, not today. I can't take that energy. And again, if I'm supposed to grow, and I think it's Jim Rohn who said, if you hang out with five people, the average of the people you're with for one, their income is going to be the average of the five people that you hang out with the most. If you're hanging out with everybody and you're the smartest one in the group, it means that you're going to be the one that's always going to be teaching. I need to be with some people that are going to teach me some stuff. I don't want to be the teacher for everybody. I mean, if you're hanging out with five junkies, hey, you're just going to be junking with them. But it's a decision.
Right. And see, that's that part of that training the mind is
I
being
got
able to make the quality decision.
because, and when we decide, right? Like I said earlier, the Latin word decide, right, means to cut away from. When you decided for Yolanda, it means that all other else was gone.
Absolutely.
When we decide to do the summit this year, by the way, throwing this in here right now, the Monday after Thanksgiving this year, we're going to be zooming in. It's going to be a virtual summit, the annual Sankofa Mastermind Summit. You're going to get information coming out shortly. But the Monday after Thanksgiving, we'll do the annual Sankofa Mastermind Summit. And we have some featured
Guess
Oliver's wife is
that's
going
gonna
to
that's gonna rock our world, right?
and the other member that you have is going to be what's the latest name that's going to be the other feature for us?
Deborah Lee.
Deborah Lee. So we're going to come in like a powerhouse with Deborah and Yolanda. So
Mark your calendars for November 27th, I believe, right?
yes, November
November
27th.
27th at 3 o'clock Eastern time, and it's
Yes,
noon Pacific time.
yes. So and we decide.
We made a decision.
We made a decision.
So everything else during that time has been cut away.
Cut away, cut away. And we're going to enter into a space where transformation is going to occur. And you got to discipline yourself to say, you know what? That's on my calendar. Anything else other than that on that day is not going to be.
Absolutely.
The power of decision, which comes with the power of the mind. And the mind is the thing that the capacity that we have to choose.
Yes.
And, you know, it's amazing that Creator created us with the capacity to choose to say, you know what? I don't want to do that. But the choices that we make have landed us right where we are today.
Absolutely. We're sitting in our results, right?
Choices that we make has brought us to where we are. And it doesn't just stop here. The choices that we make going forward is going to take us into the future. What is the future that the choices that you're making going to take you into? Because you know what? I love to use this analogy. I said, my life is like a train ride. God is the engineer, but I'm the conductor. So I'm checking tickets of people that has been traveling with me in my life. And honestly, more recently, I've been checking some tickets and I see they're not heading to the destination. And I'm like, excuse me, you got to get off the train because this spot is for someone that is heading to the destination. Because if you're not heading to the destination that I'm heading, it means that you're just there for the ride. And I don't want to just be there for the ride. I want to be there for the destination, because if the destination is not what you're heading to, you're taking up a space for someone that is supposed to go to the destination. So, and like Aristotle says, nature abhors the vacuum. So as I remove certain things, as I declutter certain things, I need to replace it with something that is actually in the part.
Absolutely.
Because I can be making decisions that is sabotaging my dream. And I don't want to be making decisions that are sabotaging my dream. This is why I got to listen and I got to know what I'm doing. And how do I know if the decision is actually supposed to be? Now, does it make me feel alive? Yes. Is it in line with my core values? Yes. Is it requiring me to grow? Yes. Do I need help from the infinite source? Yes. And is there going to be good in it for others? So I know then, okay, that decision is in alignment. But any other decision, if it's taken, if it's hurting people, if it's against my core values, and some people, in order to achieve, they go against their core values. And if you go against your core values and you experience, hey, it's just going to be time, because whatever you put out is going to come back to you. That if it's an energy of wanting to oppress people, and this is why, again, I'm so consumed right now with Wallace Waddles, because I don't need to be in a competition.
That's right.
The competitive spirit is not the thing that I'm operating in. I am in the creative space where what I want for me, I want for you.
Yes.
I want to be successful. I want you to be successful. It's not me when you lose or you win, I lose. It's we both win. Because when the tide comes in, how many boats rise?
All the boats rise.
So if you're ahead of me in the line and you're getting what you're supposed to get, I'm going to cheer for you. Come on, Oliver, it's happening. Because I know that mine is on the way too. I don't need to be hating you and be like, why does he have to get it? Why him? No, I'm happy that it's him, because it means my turn is next. So, my brother, I love you so much. I mean, when you chose me, I am grateful for the fact that you chose me, because you have been such a blessing. You continue to inspire. You continue to motivate. You know, the scripture says, iron sharpens iron. You help me to stay the course. And this is what it's all about.
Yeah. And we need each other.
Desperately.
Yes.
And we need to know that apart from God,
We
are.
do nothing.
But with God, all
All
things are
things are
possible.
possible. Yes.
All things are possible. And that's why my life begins and ends with God, because I know that the thoughts of God towards me, the scripture said, it is God who gives you power to gain wealth to establish his covenant. He gives
Yep.
us, I mean, and all I'm becoming is a conduit through who all of the infinite can flow through, who I can actually be this philanthropist. I can be this world transformational changer. I can be a source of light and life. It's not about me. It's about the one that breathes me, the one in whom I live and move and have my being. And this is why Jesus said, not my will, but thy will be done. Because if I go in my own way, if I even reference to this body that I'm traveling in, if I left this body to be what it wants to be, I would be eating out, pigging out, no discipline out. And I'm going to get the consequences. That's why I got to be disciplined, eat right, think right, rest, exercise. Those are disciplines. And I'd say it's like a four-legged table, because you could be in shape, but not thinking right. You could be exercising and not rest. Resting, you got physical rest, you got spiritual rest. And rest is when you rejuvenate and you actually expand. And what am I consuming? What am I listening to? What am I reading? What am I actually feeding my mind with? Because if I just go and I just watch a lot of crazy stuff, listen to a lot of crazy stuff, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and all the other stuff, by the time you finish, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be like, oh my God, this world is going to hell in a basket. You know what? I'm going to see what God sees.
Yes.
I'm going to see what God sees, and I'm going to think what God thinks.
Right.
And what is God is love. Love is patient. Love is kind.
Yep.
Love is long suffering. Love doesn't keep a record of wrong. And I'm going to see myself the way God sees me, because I know I didn't create myself. I am as God created me. And therefore I celebrate who I am. I am as God created me. You are as God created you, and God created you with purpose. God placed gifts. God actually invested in you. Yes, you, if you're listening, God invested in you. And if God believed in you, you better believe in you. And if God believed in you, I would love to believe in you too. I believe in you too. And this is why my clients that I work with, I tell them I believe in them. And it's not just a word believe. I believe that there are giftings and talents and abilities and passions that they were sent with. This is that's why when we go to that place of imagining the life you'd love to live, it's about God imagining through you, because the things that you, and I think I heard Denzel Washington said this. He said the itch that you have to do these things is like God tapping you on the shoulder and saying, I've been waiting for you to get this thing done a long time ago. Let's do it. I'm co-creating with the creator. I am an instrument in the hand of God, that God can take me wherever he wants to take me, do whatever he wants to do in and through me. And the sky is the limit, because God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above I can ask or think, according to the power that is working within me, because it's a co-creation. I'm not a robot. I gotta decide. And when I decide, then I'm gonna be disciplined. I gotta decide that I can't just be out doing any and everything. I gotta be set apart. People run away from the word holy. But all it means is I gotta be set apart. I gotta be set apart for this thing that I'm imagining. I can't do anything now. If I say I'm heading to LA, I can't be running in the direction of New York. I gotta be setting my mind to New York, to LA, walking in the direct, put my energies towards LA, and then I will get to LA. But it starts with the thought. And then it comes with the discipline of doing what it takes to get there. Because a lot of people say, I'm going to just declare affirmations, and people say a lot of affirmations, but affirmations without action is just disillusionment. I got to be disciplined. I got up this morning, started my meditation. I pulled out my mat and I had my workout, and I was sweating like a pig. Because if I'm going to be traveling this world, Oliver, I got to be in the best shape of my life at 61.
Well, there you have it, folks. If I was someone that was looking to change the results I'm getting if I'm not pleased with them, if I was someone that was looking to start something, if I was someone who was looking for answers to how to begin to pursue my dream, I would listen to this recording over and over and over again, because Wayne has you have filled this cup with so many nuggets, so many truths that you don't need a host of books or a host of seminars or a host. If you just listen to the nuggets that's been shared here concerning the mind, concerning your dream, concerning your life, concerning who you are, because you touched all these areas, concerning your identity, concerning the creative process, concerning the power of the mind, the power of thought, concerning the discipline that it takes, the discipleship that it will take to bring this apart. Because, without the discipline, we can only achieve what we're disciplined for, because everything is set at a different or a specific frequency, and it takes discipline to get to that frequency. So we're all receiving where we all have received and are receiving according to our discipline, right? And so it's not that our dreams are not attainable, is are we willing to do the work?
And
let me say this, because I've been trying to figure out how to say this. The other alternative to you pursuing your purpose in life is to become a fan of someone else's life. Now, let me say this as I think this is going to be helpful. We are, a part of our culture is that we love to find heroes, of what we would consider a hero, or someone that is overachieving, or we love to acknowledge the elite performers. And there's nothing wrong with that, and we should. But when we do it at the expense of not pursuing our own interests, when we do it as a substitute to pursuing our own interests, to do the thing that we know we ought to be doing for ourselves, for our own life, for our own family, right? For our own community. We become just fans of other people's accomplishment at the expense of our own accomplishment. I think we have missed the mark, right? I think we missed the mark. And it's a trap we can easily fall into. It's a trap we can easily fall into. That word fan comes from the word fantastic or fascinated, right? But we're not fascinated about our own abilities to make a difference or to have an impact, but we become fascinated by other people. And so we use that as an excuse for our own unfolding, for our own growth,
And
right?
most people want to stay in that comfort
And
zone.
people want to stay in that comfort zone just as being a fan. Just give me a ticket. I want to go and see. And
And the thing
we
is,
do that at the expense of our own growth, our own fulfillment, our own happiness.
and I say, in the life, in our life, in your life, in my life, I'm the star. God is the executive director, producer, financer, but it is God in me, with me, through me is going to create a blockbuster. Somebody said, do the world a favor, just be yourself.
Just be yourself.
God wanted you to be somebody else, he would have made you somebody else. And God wants the best life to be lived through you.
Right.
He said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That's the life that God would have for us, but it's a life that is unique to you, just like your thumbprint.
Absolutely.
It's as unique as who you are. So giftings and talents and everything that God has sent us with is for us to maximize unto God's glory. That God would show forth to be amazing, fantastic through you. Because if I want to really, somebody said the life that we have is God's gift to us, and how we live this life is our gift to God. How am I living this life? Am I living it to the max? And it takes discipline, it takes investment. And I want to say to you, if you feel like you are stuck, and you might very feel stuck, truly blue, truly you. I mean, the work that Oliver and his wife were doing to unstuck people who are stuck, whatever level you are. And it takes support, because you want to work with someone that can actually say, I've been there, done that. I've actually done this journey. And that's what we can do. Because what coaches do, they want the work that they do in other people's lives to go beyond where they are. I mean, if the coach has a certain level of standard, he wants the people that he's actually coaching go beyond him.
Beyond
He don't want them to just have where they are.
greater works.
Greater works.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Wayne. I think we're at the top of our hour. We are at the top of our hour. And this has been so enriching. And boy, did we not hit the button on mindfulness. And all this, everything that was said today can be put under the title mindfulness. Because in reality, nothing happens outside the mind's involvement.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way we relate to this physical world through the mind, and it's the way we access the world of the divine through the mind. And so the mind is so vital. And so as we continue this month to emphasize on mindfulness, be with us, be with the postings that are being made in our community. If what Wayne says resonate with you and you like to contact Wayne, you can reach out to Wayne on Instagram at
Wayna's Supermodel. WAYNAZ Supermodel. But you can find me on Facebook, Wayne A. Moody. And if you're listening to this online, you can just hit me up, DM me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm now on TikTok.
That's great. So reach out to Wayne. If Wayne resonates with you, reach out to Wayne. And as I say this, here comes the triplet.
I love it.
I won't say his name is Johnny Come Lately,
You
but I,
could though.
but I will say that his name is John Coat. His name is John Ebron, and John Ebron is also a part of our coach's corner. And but John's a busy man,
God is
and
good.
he's only hopping on now because this is at the point that he got clear.
Yeah, I so apologize, gentlemen. I just got through teaching a group on setting boundaries. I guess I should set better boundaries with my calendar.
But you know what I was saying earlier, John, when Oliver and I were talking, because as we expand ourselves globally, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm learning. Listen, I'm learning because when I was on this last 3 weeks, I was actually checking in with a client in Bali.
Yeah.
Now you talk about it's not
Time
just
zone.
Central and Eastern time zone. You talk about a totally different zone. And in order to be in sync with him, I had to make sure I got it right. So what time is it there now? What time is
Right.
it there now? Because I can be totally off when it comes to that. So this is just rehearsal.
We're getting better and better. We're getting better and better. Yeah.
Well, John, we've spent the majority of this hour listening to Wayne Unhinged.
Bless your heart.
And we have taken a deep immersion or a deep dive into this uh, subject of what is the mind,
Mhm.
how does it function, and how we use it in service for the life that we would love. And I would have to say in the conclusion that the nugget today is that it will take discipline or a certain discipline in order to achieve anything. And without the discipline is like the ladder that we have to take up to the level that we're trying to get on. And without the discipline, um, we we continue getting the same results that we are. And so that that that's the word for today, discipline.
Well, it sounds like
Where
I missed
where am
this
I
episode.
disciplined and where am I not disciplined? Well, your results will show.
Yes,
And
yes,
results don't lie.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, sounds like I missed a powerful conversation.
Well, while we come to a close here, uh, you being a former military guy, which boy, that got discipline written all over it. And you've now been in the field of building your own business, being an entrepreneur. I know you got big ideas. You have a servant's heart. You want to serve people and help them uh, to live their best life. Where does discipline land in your efforts to help people
Hmm.
in your approach?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what's coming up for me, and it's just resonating because I was just talking with a client of mine about something similar to this. Um, we were talking about reframing too soon, right? And so giving ourselves so much grace that we don't need discipline. Because anytime something happens and we don't follow through, we just reframe and says, "Oh, well, we meant to do that instead," right? So indiscipline is not synonymous with failing failing experiences, right? Disciplined people experience failure as an experience, just like indisciplined people. But the disciplined people gets the benefit out of the learning experience, out of the failure, right? Because you hold yourself accountable first, and then you give yourself grace to pick yourself up and keep on moving. So if you're disciplined, don't set a standard for yourself of perfection and call that discipline. They're not the same.
Yeah. So you're saying that within the discipline, the perceived shortcomings become feedback.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But if you're not disciplined,
Mm-hmm.
the shortcoming
Because of lifestyle.
it just becomes an experience, and
Mhm.
you ain't learned anything.
Right. And you are and you have the right to grow and to learn. So you can absolutely identify yourself as a disciplined person, even if you're not perfect in everything that you're doing, right? You absolutely have not only the right, but really the responsibility to identify yourself as a disciplined person, right? And all if you do that, if you do that, your discipline will allow you to be a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
It will allow you to be a lifelong learner. If you don't, then you just have to accept a lifestyle of mediocrity
Right.
in some sort of pseudo self-acceptance.
So you have to have a goal. You got to be moving towards some idea, some
Yeah.
dream. Without a goal or without a idea or without a target or a destination, what is it there to be disciplined for?
So true.
So discipline starts with having an idea,
Yes.
right? Having a
Yeah.
goal, having a dream, right? And now that I have a target from where I am with what I have, I begin to inquire, move in the direction of, right?
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
discipline. Just
Yes.
if you're moving towards a a a predetermined idea,
Mhm.
then that's discipline.
That's discipline.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it becomes more refined, right, as you continue to move and as you continue to expand your awareness about this idea and as you begin to realize the what is needed for the idea.
Yes.
And the one thing that is needed is who you need to become in the process in
That's
order
it.
to be a match for that idea.
That's it. That's it.
And
That's the
then you go to
growth.
work on yourself, right?
Yes. Yes. That's the growth. And so the disciplined person enters in to this non-linear experience of growth. It's not this, as you were telling me last week, right? It's not this. It's is this, right?
Yes.
So, but only the disciplined person can enter into the non-linear experience of growth. That's the only person that can get it. The other person has to pretend that they're happy with what they got. That's it.
And I wanted to say, the term discipline leads to the word disciple,
Mm-hmm.
which is a learner,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
which means that you are learning. And
Right.
part of learning is being aware of what you don't know, as far as what you're aware of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being honest, because if you feel like you know it all, that's the hardest person for you to teach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to know that I need to learn. And in order to learn, sometimes it takes doing it over
Yeah,
and
yeah.
over and over again. But
Yeah, yeah.
the more you do it over and over again, then you get it. And when you get it, then it just flows. Because, as I think of myself as world changer, minister of transformation of the nation of Belize,
Mm-hmm.
it's becoming that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And becoming that thing is not just say, hallelujah, praise the Lord, thank you, Jesus, I'm going to be it. No, I've had to go through the fire. I've had to go through the rain. I've got to go through the flops. But you know what? It is making me that thing.
Yes, sir.
The discipline comes in because I fly into LA. I get in like 11:30. I fall asleep at midnight. But you know what? I have a couple that I work with in Illinois at 5:30 in the morning. I get up and I'm there before they're ready.
Discipline.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't just happen.
Right.
I mean, I have to be consistent.
Right.
And consistent and persistency is what a part of the discipline. Think about the martial arts people and the athletes and all these people. They have to be disciplined because they go when it rains, when it's not raining. They go when it's convenient, when it's not convenient. Because people who are not disciplined will say, "Oh my God, it's raining. I'm not going to go again today." But
Oliver, I know we had time. Do you have time for a quick story?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Listen. We're adding value and building goodwill.
Okay.
Go
So,
ahead.
and we're synced, Wayne, because I was literally sitting here thinking as you were talking about this is what came up for me, right? So, and I think both of you know this. I know, Wayne, I know you do know this, but I am a disciple of the Shaolin art. I'm a Shaolin practitioner, Kung Fu, right? I was one of those kids that always watched Kung Fu theater on Saturday with the bad sound effects. People jumping up, jumping off of a house, and they reverse the footage. So it looks like they had the ability to jump on the house. I'm out there jumping off top of the house, about to break my leg, trying to be like a little kid. So I was always fascinated with Kung Fu, right? So I finally got the opportunity to find a Kung Fu school, and I became a disciple of the art, right? And so you're given the title disciple or little brother in our school when you become a first degree black belt. Now, if you're familiar with some of the old kung fu schools, right, or kung fu movies, now you have the Shaolin temples, and then on the steps of the Shaolin temple, there'll be all these little kids, right? So the history behind that is, these neighboring villages, when they were going through famine or they didn't have enough to take care of their children, they would bring their children to the Shaolin temples and beg the monks to take in their child because their child was either going to die in the village or be taken into the temple. And so they took in as many as they could. They took them in like cyclical, like you get admitted in school. And so a lot of times the parents would just leave the child on the steps of the temple and just pray that they would have mercy and take in another one. They just didn't have, the means to take care of it. So you had all these little kids that would live in and around the temple. And some Shaolin master would point out to little Oliver or little Wayne or little John and say, take this bucket and go to the river and fetch water. And they would watch us exercise our discipline, you know. So would you actually carry the bucket? Would you fill them all the way up? If you got halfway to the temple and you dropped them, would you go back and get more water? You know? And in that exercise of being disciplined in those small menial things, despise not the day of small beginnings, right? You're getting stronger and built up to the point that your discipline builds you to the point where you could take on greater tasks. So really, on that smaller level of getting the smaller disciplines out of the way, you're being prepared for bigger things. So a Shaolin master can say, I've been watching Oliver, how he does the little menial work we've been giving him. He's ready. I want to take him. I want to put him in my hall. So I'm the mantis master. So I'm gonna teach him mantis style. And I'm the tiger master. And I'm gonna take Wayne. I'm gonna let John wait out there a little bit longer because they haven't been disciplined enough, right?
Right.
That kind of thing, right? And so when you become a first degree black in our school, you're essentially one of the little kids who got selected by a master. Now you're a first degree black belt. You've gone through all of this training. You've got all of this technique, and hopefully you've got all of this skill and develop your technique over time, right? And you go through the ceremony, and our superintendent at that time was seventh degree black belt. That means they had been in the art at that time for well over 25 years, right? I'm getting awarded my black belt. I go to my supervisor, well, my superintendent. I bow down. I raise my hands up in front of him. He puts the black belt in my hand, and then he says, "Tomorrow we'll begin your training."
Well, what was all of that
What was all of that, right? It was just the discipline needed
to get
just
right?
to go to the next level.
John,
So
you remember Mr. Miyagi, John?
for you, yeah.
You remember Mr. Miyagi? Wax
Mhm.
on, wax on. And he didn't know where that was
Didn't
gonna
have a
be,
clue.
what he was gonna do, but the thing that seems so small, and this is why the small disciplines,
Despise not, right? We say it to each other all the time,
small
right?
disciplines that I mean, okay, wax on, wax off, wax on. But that was a part of him being in the place of being prepared for it, you know.
Hmm.
But
And to add to my story, just real quick. So at that point, I got awarded my first degree black belt, and then I got deployed, right? Went off. I got deathly sick, which y'all know the story behind that. But what I may probably didn't tell you, Oliver, is that it was my martial arts and particularly my Tai Chi training that brought me back to life after being, in a coma for 17 days and waking up 35 pounds lighter, not being able to walk and having to be bedridden, and then eventually being able to sit up in a chair, and eventually be able to use a wheelchair, and then a walker, and then a cane. It was me practicing the little disciplines every day that brought me back to life
Wow.
because
Yes.
I was a disciple.
Yeah. And
John,
because any discipline benefits the whole of our life experience.
Mhm.
And, you know, I've heard it said in these transformational rooms that how we do one thing
One thing,
is how we do all things.
all things.
And so
Yeah.
when we are not getting the results that we want, we have to go back and look at where we're not being consistent,
mm,
where we're not being the person, right, that is
Mhm.
required to be a match for the results or the outcomes that we want. I know for me, now y'all can speak for you, but for me, it always go back to that.
Mhm.
and one of
It
the things I want
always point me back to, where I became inconsistent in a particular area. And so
Yeah.
that's
these
why
people,
I really wanted to amplify this part of mind training with the required discipline, because a lot of people in the communities that I serve uh, have not been willing to pay the price of discipline in order
Yes.
to achieve the thing that they desire. And so like I said earlier before you came on here, is that people then what they do is they resolve to being a fan of a high achiever,
Oh,
and
wow.
neglect, as a way to neglect their own desires. But that doesn't make anybody happy, and it doesn't make anyone fulfilled, because once the game is over, once the performance is over, you're left still to your own mind, to your own thinking, to your own self, and your
Mhm.
mind and yourself going to ask you, what about you?
What about me?
I want to give a word of encouragement at this point, right? Because it's also there's another side of it where when you see someone that is disciplined and you feel like, man, I want to be there, but it's like it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Mhm.
I have been a world changer. I can say I have been a world changer for over 43 years.
Mhm.
So when I speak, when I act, when I share, I didn't start yesterday.
Right.
When I start working with my clients, I let them know that the space that I endeavor to create is a judgment free, a condemnation free, a guilt free, a shame free space. This is why when you go to the gym and you're getting a good personal trainer, they will help you to deal with the psychology that comes when you go into the gym. Because I don't know to work out, I feel embarrassed. I don't even know which weight I should pick up. But
And you don't know what you're capable of.
right, and the good coach is gonna say, hey, it's okay.
Yes.
Don't look at those people. Oh, they're
Mhm.
flexing and doing. No, come in right where you are.
Right.
You are, and you take it one moment at a time. But you
Mhm.
know what? That is a word of encouragement for folks who've been trying maybe a lot by themselves and
Yes.
they've been missing it. Hey, know where you are and realize that consistency and persistency is going to take you to that same place. Because if Mount Everest is the destination, baby steps are going to get you there with persistency and consistency. So sometimes we want, and we live in an age where everybody wanted quick. How many infomercials have we not seen with people say, "Hey, do this, you get so many $100,000. Oh, you can," and there is that drive for wanting to have it instantly.
Mhm.
And we've been in a space where we know each other's stories and what we've been through to get where we are today. It's
Right.
not like yesterday and today just
No.
happened.
This is a lifetime.
It's a lifetime. So the encouragement is, even knowing where you are, and you might want to go to a place of feeling, man, those guys are talking. Oh, look at how John has it. Oh, look at how Oliver has it. We can tell you the stories that we've had to been through
Yes.
to get
Yes.
where we are. It's not like a magic one wave. It
Mhm.
takes work.
No.
Mhm.
No.
And like you said, the cool thing about working with a coach is there's two experts in the room. I think we talked about this last time, right? You're an expert in your life, but the coach is the expert in the process. Because there's parallel projects going on right now. There's you living your life, client, you know, you living your life and you transforming your life. Those are happening at the same time. And you're familiar with doing what you've always done. That's what you've always done. But now you're trying to become something that you've never been. And this person has studied, maybe not you, but have studied the process
Right.
with past clients, with maybe past certifications. And so, again, barring on some of my old Army, experience. When I first got told I had to do 50 push-ups without rest, I was like, you crazy. Your mama was crazy for having you drill sergeant. I can't do none of that. And you just sick for actually asking me to do that, right? I just, forget that, right? But this drill sergeant has seen probably literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people come before me saying, I can't do it, and get down and do it. So they disregard what I'm saying because I know how to do what I've always been doing, which was Pac-Man and Saturday morning cartoons, right? He knows the process of transformation,
Yes.
you know? And so you have to empower yourself with someone who can empower the process. And that's what a great coach does for you, right? And like you said, and the perfectionist in a person is, and I know I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? But the perfectionist in a person is really the person that is scared that they don't have what it takes. So they put all of these requirements into just getting started, so they never really have to get started to begin with. But it's the little small disciplines of doing it just a little bit, then doing it just a little bit more, and then doing it a little bit more. And before now, this piece you're doing it from your subconscious programming because you've done it enough, you've embedded into your subconscious. Now it's second nature. You ain't got to think about this. You think about the second part, and now you're building momentum. Small discipline upon small discipline, small confidence builder upon small confidence builder. And before you know it, you've gone from a process to a lifestyle, to an
Yes.
identity, and just about all of the major players, the vanguard that is kind of on their transition in a lot of ways, right? They've all experienced massive failures, bankruptcies, lost marriages, lost opportunities, but they got the discipline. So when their situation, which is always going to change, they had this substratum underneath them that will never change. And they'll say, well, I lost the millions, but I know I have the discipline. I'll go back and get it again, you know? And so what are you after? Are you after the rock, or are you after the cloud that just kind of float in and out and away from the rock, right? Be the mountain. The clouds will come and go.
Wow. Guys, if I don't stick a pin in it right there,
Hey,
I,
he said,
I,
he looks like his daddy, but he talk like his mama.
you
Just
said
like
that
that woman,
right.
girl, just like her. Just
If
like
I,
her.
if I don't stick a pin in there right there,
I
I'm
love
gonna
you
be
guys.
undisciplined about what I have to do the rest of the afternoon.
Now, can I use my imagination before we go?
Well, I'm gonna hit this off button before 1 hour and 30 minutes because if I don't, I won't be able to
I
replay it
can
live.
imagine us live all over the world.
Yes.
Love it.
You
Let's do
imagine
that.
you, John, and I in wherever.
Well, we are everywhere because I'm gonna replay this right as a live. So,
But
uh,
you know what I'm talking about. I'm
oh
talking
yeah,
about
yeah, yes, yes, I
stage,
know what you're talking about.
being on a stage, being in a continent, being in a.
We already there, brother. If you can think it in your mind, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand.
Yes.
Well, there you have it for our September version of the Coach's Corner with yours truly, Wayne A. Moody, life coach and world changer, and my brother John Ebron with Ebron Coaching and Consultant. These are the triplets, and we'll be back next month for another version of the Coach's Corner. But in the meantime, give some consideration to training your mind, because that is the vehicle that will get you everywhere.
Yes.
Until next time, bye bye.
Until next time, blessings, everyone.
Namaste.